The greatest move you'll ever make in life won't come with applause. It won't be live streamed. It won't arrive dressed in announcements or dressed up for validation. No, the move that changes your life forever is the one nobody saw coming. The one you crafted in silence. The one that grew in the shadows while the world was busy making noise. That single truth, it changes everything. In the age of updates and oversharing, most people are too busy performing. They talk about their big goals, their vision boards, their 5-year plans. They narrate their lives like they're already living the success they haven't actually earned. But what they're really doing is mistaking exposure for execution, volume for value, noise for progress. Here's the reality check. Talking doesn't build. Wishing doesn't win. Performances don't last. It's the quiet, uncelebrated, early morning, late night effort that separates the dreamers from the doers. It's the work that gets done when no one is clapping that ultimately earns the standing ovation. This audiobook isn't here to hype you up with empty motivation. It's not here to make you feel good for 5 minutes. It's here to rewire the way you think about progress. About power. About how true success is built, not through external approval, but through internal commitment. The kind of commitment that doesn't need an audience. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. And you certainly don't need to announce your next move. Real strength is quiet. Real growth is invisible until it's not. Because when you show up every single day, when you get better quietly, when you focus your energy on creation instead of explanation, something powerful happens. Your results start speaking louder than any words ever could. You stop needing applause because you start building legacy. You stop seeking attention because your work becomes undeniable. The noise around you fades, and the only thing that matters is whether or not you kept your promise to yourself. This is a guide for those who are ready to stop performing and start producing. For those who are done being seen for what they might do and determined to be respected for what they've actually done. Inside, you'll learn how to protect your energy from distractions, how to cultivate focus in a world designed to steal it, and how to commit without the world watching. Because here's the truth. The most successful people aren't the loudest. They're the ones too busy working to explain themselves, too disciplined to pause and perform, too focused to stop and seek applause. Their greatness was born in silence, and yours can be too. Never tell people what you do. Focus in silence, win in public. This is Book Sounds, Better You. Chapter 1. Close your mouth and get serious about your life. It starts in a moment, not a loud one, not a grand, cinematic, music swell moment that anyone else sees. It starts in the most private place you know, inside your own mind. It starts the day you wake up, look around at your life, and realize you've had enough. Enough pretending, enough delaying, enough performing for people who don't care and wasting time on things that don't matter. That moment is quiet, but don't confuse silence with weakness. That moment is where your transformation begins. No more talking about what you want to do. No more waiting until the timing is just right. No more asking for opinions from people who aren't even showing up for their own lives. That moment, it's where you finally get serious. And it's long overdue. Too many people are stuck in performance mode. They treat their life like a stage and their future like a show. They post their intentions like promises they never plan to keep. They explain their big ideas in detail, hoping that just saying it will feel like progress. But here's the truth that most won't tell you. Talking gives you the illusion of movement without actually taking a single step. You feel a spark of pride when you say your goals out loud. You feel that hit of dopamine when someone nods and says, "That's awesome." But then what? Where's the follow-through? Where's the daily grind when the applause dies down and no one is watching? Because that's where the real work lives, in the quiet. You don't need permission to start changing. You don't need validation to pursue the life you want. You don't need your friends to understand it or your family to applaud it. You just need focus. You need the discipline to stay in your lane when everyone else is distracted. You need to stop broadcasting your dreams and start building them in silence. Silence is misunderstood. People think it's passive, that it's a sign of insecurity or weakness. But silence, when used with intention, is powerful. It's focused, it's mature, and it's how warriors prepare for battle, not by shouting, but by sharpening their sword. Close your mouth and have the conversation that actually matters, the one with yourself. The one where you say, I'm done playing small. I'm done delaying. I'm done chasing cheap highs that keep me from real progress. I'm done explaining. I'm done trying to look the part instead of becoming it. The world is filled with people who talk, but the ones who win, they're too busy doing to waste time explaining. They're up early. They're working while others scroll. They're building something real, something solid, something that doesn't need to be talked about because when it's ready, the world will see it, and they won't be able to look away. You don't owe anyone a play-by-play of your journey. Not your friends, not your followers, not even the people closest to you. If they don't see your vision, that's okay. If they don't understand your silence, that's expected. It's not for them. This is your life, your future. And if it matters to you, you have to start acting like it. Start waking up earlier, not because it's trendy, but because you finally value your time. Stop hanging around people who are comfortable being average. Stop wasting hours in the scroll hole of distraction. Stop waiting for perfect. Perfect is a lie that keeps you stuck. Start now. Start messy. Start tired. Start alone if you have to, but start. There's a version of you that you've seen in your dreams, the one who doesn't flinch under pressure, the one who doesn't back down when it gets hard. The one who walks into a room and doesn't need to say a word because their presence is earned, not given. That version of you, it's real, but it's buried under excuses, bad habits, and too much talking. You want to change? You want to evolve? You want to finally break out of the endless loop of almosts and maybes? Then go quiet, cut the noise, build discipline, rewrite your identity, not with your words, but with your work. People chase validation because they don't trust their own power yet. But when you get quiet, when you start stacking wins that no one sees, something inside you shifts. You stop needing others to believe in you, because now you believe in you. You grow when you stop updating everyone about every move you make. You grow when you stop needing to be understood. You grow when you stop treating your journey like it needs to be broadcasted, and instead treat it like sacred ground. No one needs to see it until it's done. Ask yourself the hard questions. Are you showing up for your life, or just coasting? Are your mornings owned by you or stolen by your phone? Are you building your body, your mind, your knowledge? Or are you just floating? Be honest, because lies feel good in the short term, but truth builds long-term freedom. Cut the distractions. Stop impressing people who aren't even doing anything worth admiring. Stop justifying your path to people who don't even understand growth. That's a trap, and every time you fall into it, you trade power for comfort. You trade progress for applause. And it's not worth it. You want to be respected? Then build something worthy of respect. You want people to take you seriously? Start taking yourself seriously first. Not through performance, but through presence, through consistency, through doing the work without the need for an audience. Keep your room clean. Get your schedule tight. Train your body. Strengthen your focus. Build your habits like bricks and lay them down one by one. Stack them until they become a wall so strong that doubt can't break through. No one sees the wall going up now, but one day they'll look up and ask, how did you build all this? And your answer won't come from your mouth. It will come from the work. You'll get there because you stopped waiting for the right moment. You stopped waiting for applause. You stopped waiting for others to approve your ambition. You just walked forward, quietly, relentlessly, and with zero tolerance for excuses. That's what people don't understand about the strong. They don't need noise. They don't need to post every milestone. They just keep showing up over and over again until one day their life is unrecognizable. Until one day they've built something so undeniable that the world has no choice but to take notice. But by then, the ones who built it aren't even looking for validation. They've already moved on to the next level. Still building, still focused, still silent. If you're tired of being average, if you're tired of being overlooked, underwhelmed, and always almost there, then here's your path. Close your mouth. Get serious. Let go of the need to be seen and embrace the grind of being excellent. Because the truth is, you only get one shot at this life. And if you don't take it seriously, no one else will. So build something. Build it when you're tired. Build it when you're bored. Build it when nobody notices. Build it because it's the only way out of where you are right now. Discipline, health, knowledge, skill. These are the bricks. Lay them down, stack them, day after day. And when people ask how you did it, all you'll have to do is smile, because your life will speak for itself. You want to win in public? Then fight like hell in private. Master the boring stuff, the stuff that doesn't get you likes, the stuff that doesn't get praised, the stuff no one celebrates. Do that, and everything changes. No one is coming to hand you the life you want. You'll have to build it, with sweat, with silence, with work. So stop talking about it, and just do it. Close your mouth, get serious, stay hungry, stay quiet, and build something that cannot be ignored. Chapter 2. Work quietly on your goals every single day. There's a shift that happens when you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start treating your goals like they matter today, not next week, not when the timing feels better, not when you finally feel ready. No, the moment is now, and it begins with a simple, serious commitment. Work quietly, every single day. It doesn't sound glamorous, it doesn't come with fireworks or applause, but it works. In fact, it's the only thing that truly does. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, it's not what gets shared on social media, but it's the formula that changes lives, one silent, consistent day at a time. The people who build something real aren't the ones making noise, they're the ones making progress in silence. They've stopped searching for magic answers and started accepting the truth. If you want real results, you have to show up even when it's boring. Even when it's thankless, even when it feels like no one sees you. Most people say they want it. They talk like they're ready to level up. But then they wait for motivation, for energy, for inspiration. And in that waiting, they stay exactly where they are, stuck. They want the rewards, but they don't want the repetition. They want the transformation, but not the discipline. That's why so many start and so few finish. But you? If you're serious about changing your life, you've got to be willing to treat every single day like it matters. Not just when you feel like it, not just when the mood is right, every single day. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Because real life doesn't reward occasional effort. It rewards consistency. Quiet, gritty, boring consistency. You won't always feel like doing the work, and that's okay. Do it anyway. The ones who win aren't better, they're just more consistent. They show up when it's hard. They show up when it's slow. They show up when it feels like nothing is changing. And then, eventually, everything changes. This isn't about mimicking someone else's routine. You don't need a 5 a.m. club badge. You don't need a perfect planner or a prepackaged system. You just need to find your rhythm, the pace that works for you. Maybe that means sacrificing an hour of TV. Maybe that means waking up earlier or saying no to distractions. Whatever it is, make the shift. Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is a myth. The perfect time is an excuse wrapped in procrastination. Start now. Start imperfectly. Start even if it's small. Start without permission. And most importantly, keep going. The ones who change their lives, they're not the loudest. They're not the ones constantly announcing what they're working on. They're the ones you don't even notice until one day they walk into the room and they're unrecognizable. Not because they told you they were changing, but because they did the work while the rest of the world was watching reels and chasing likes. You didn't see the early mornings. You didn't see the late nights. You didn't see the countless days they chose growth over comfort. And you weren't supposed to. Because this isn't about show. It's about self-respect. It's about self-leadership. It's about keeping promises to yourself when no one else is looking. So stop building for the crowd. Start building for your future. You don't need feedback. You need focus. You don't need to post. You need to plan. And you don't need applause. You need a reason. A reason that burns when things get quiet. A reason that fuels you when the work feels thankless. A reason that reminds you why this matters, especially when no one else gets it. Long-term thinking is rare. It's why most people give up after a week. They want the reward now. But anything worth having takes time. It takes sacrifice. It takes lonely nights, doubting moments, and the discipline to keep going anyway. You'll question yourself. You'll feel misunderstood. You'll wonder if it's worth it. But the people who win, they don't stop when it gets hard. They lean in. They understand that struggle isn't a sign to quit. It's the test you have to pass to level up. Be okay with not being noticed. Be okay with the silence. Because the real glow up doesn't come from being seen, it comes from being consistent. Your growth will speak for you. Your work will be the proof. And when the results finally arrive, they won't just show what you've done, they'll reveal who you've become. Don't stay busy. Stay focused. Don't drift. Decide. Write down what you want. Break it down into daily actions, then execute, day by day, step by step, without needing motivation, without needing applause. The truth is, your future will be built in the hours no one sees. The hours you could waste or invest. One focused hour a day is over 350 hours a year. That's not a little, that's transformational, but only if you do it. Only if you commit to making it a non-negotiable. Discipline isn't comfortable, but regret is brutal. Most people live with regret because they waited, they hesitated, they convinced themselves there would be a better time. And then one day they woke up and realized they missed it. Don't let that be your story. Don't be the person who almost made it. Be the one who decided enough was enough, who built the habit, who followed through, who embraced the ordinary repetition that leads to extraordinary results. Understand this. Motivation is fleeting. It's a spark. But discipline? Discipline is the fire you build every single day, and that fire burns long after the hype fades. You don't owe anyone your time. You don't need to explain your schedule. You're not here to be understood. You're here to grow. So guard your time, guard your energy, and stop apologizing for choosing your future over someone else's opinion. There's a quiet kind of pride that builds when you know you've been showing up, day in and day out, even when no one was watching. That kind of pride doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you unshakable. Eventually, people will see the change. But by then, you won't need their validation, because you'll already know who you are. You'll be the one who stayed the course, who showed up, who stopped waiting and started building, who said less and did more, who traded noise for results. You don't need more hype. You need more time with your goals. You don't need a bigger audience. You need a stronger routine. You don't need to explain. You need to execute. The best work you'll ever do won't be loud. It won't be public. It won't trend. But it will be powerful. It will be yours, and it will be undeniable. The best work you'll ever do won't be loud, it won't be public, it won't trend, but it will be powerful, it will be yours, and it will be undeniable. Chapter 3. Stop proving and start doing what really matters. There comes a moment when everything shifts. Not because you finally convinced someone to see your worth, not because the world suddenly clapped for your effort, but because you made one quiet, powerful decision to stop proving and start doing what really matters. That's where transformation begins. That's the line between living a life for approval and living a life on purpose. Most people spend years caught in a trap they don't even see. They exhaust themselves trying to be liked, trying to be accepted, trying to be understood. They dress for others, speak for others, and move through life as if every step has to be explained. But all that energy, it doesn't move your life forward. It doesn't build anything that lasts. You don't need to win over the world. You need to win back your focus. You need to reclaim your attention from the things that don't serve your growth. The truth is, you don't owe the world proof. You owe yourself progress. Quiet, steady, personal progress. The kind that doesn't need an audience to be real. The kind that doesn't need a platform to be powerful. Trying to prove yourself is a subtle kind of prison. It keeps you performing, explaining, justifying. You're not building anymore. You're broadcasting. You're not improving. You're marketing. You start to care more about being seen than becoming better. And in that moment, the foundation begins to crack. Because when you're chasing attention, you're not chasing growth. When you're addicted to being understood, you avoid the discomfort that comes with real change. And when you're trying to impress, you're not trying to evolve. You're just trying to be approved. And that approval is never permanent. The truth? You don't need to update everyone. You don't need to post every step. You don't need to be right in every conversation. You're not here to be understood. You're here to become something better than you were yesterday. And that doesn't happen through noise. It happens through action, through grit, through raw honesty with yourself. Growth begins when you stop pretending and start working, when you stop looking the part and start building it. The world is full of people playing characters, sounding impressive, looking successful. But beneath the surface, nothing has changed. Their habits are weak, their focus is scattered, their progress is imaginary. Because they're chasing appearance, not substance. If you want to live differently, you have to choose differently. Stop mimicking, stop posing, stop chasing shallow impressions, start being real, start being effective, start doing what matters, even when no one's watching, even when no one claps, even when it's hard. Doing what matters is rarely comfortable. It requires you to look at your daily routine and ask the hard question, is this helping me become who I say I want to be? And if the answer is no, you don't delay, you shift. You stop protecting bad habits with excuses. You stop waiting for motivation. You act. Now. Because your goals won't build themselves. Your dreams won't assemble out of thin air. Life rewards effort, not intention. And every time you choose comfort over commitment, you delay the very thing you claim to want. Let go of the obsession with how things look. Get obsessed with what actually works. That might mean quiet mornings before the world wakes up. That might mean turning down invitations that steal your time. That might mean walking away from the crowd and walking toward the work. It means being clear about your priorities and being ruthless in protecting them. You can't chase everything and expect to make meaningful progress. You have to decide, define what matters, clarify what you're building, and then commit to it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. And here's what happens when you stop proving and start doing. You begin to lead yourself. You no longer wait for applause. You no longer need permission. You start making decisions based on your values, not your fear. That's where real strength comes from. That's where real peace is born. You'll be misunderstood. People might question your shift. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have, because growth demands change. Staying the same is staying stuck, and you didn't come this far to stay in the same place. You didn't come this far to live on loop, repeating the same patterns year after year. You came to break cycles. You came to step into something deeper, something real. Growth means facing the parts of you that are holding you back. It means saying goodbye to convenience. It means letting go of who people think you are and stepping into who you're truly meant to become. That's not for show. That's for you. You owe yourself the truth. Not a curated version. Not a filtered narrative, the real truth about how you spend your time, about what you've avoided, about what needs to change, and you owe yourself the discipline to do something about it. You prove nothing by talking. You prove everything by how you move through the hard days, by how you respond when no one is cheering, by how you keep your word when no one's watching. That's how you earn your own respect. That's how you build real confidence. Confidence isn't built through likes. It's built through follow-through, through sacrifice, through invisible victories. You're not here to perform. You're here to become. And that version of you, the one with depth, clarity, resilience, doesn't need to be proven. It just needs to be lived. So stop chasing attention. Chase mastery. Stop explaining your plan. Execute it. Stop proving. Start becoming. You will have days when you question everything. You will feel doubt. You will feel alone. But if you keep walking, if you stay focused on what actually matters, you will come out on the other side stronger, clearer, and more grounded than ever before. Because this journey isn't about being noticed. It's about becoming undeniable. You won't find peace in proving. You won't find growth in convincing. But the moment you stop explaining yourself to the world and start showing up for yourself, fully, quietly, relentlessly, that's when everything begins to shift. That's when your energy stops leaking and starts building. Let them wonder why you changed. Let them talk about how different you seem. Let them guess what you're up to. And while they're busy talking, you'll be busy becoming. Not to be seen, not to be celebrated, but because you finally understand. The only person you ever needed to impress was the one staring back in the mirror when the noise fades and the work is done. Chapter 4, build your habits without telling anyone about them. There is a quiet kind of strength that too many people overlook. It's not found in declarations. It's not found in big announcements. It's not found in shouting your intentions from the rooftops. It's found in the small, steady decisions you make behind closed doors, decisions that no one knows about but you. Build your habits without telling anyone about them. That might sound simple, maybe even strange in a world obsessed with updates and recognition. But it's one of the most powerful moves you can make. Not because secrecy makes you special, but because silence keeps your focus clean and your intention pure. The moment you start sharing your every step, something shifts. You invite the outside world in, and with it comes distractions, opinions, expectations, and pressure. Most people sabotage their own growth without even realizing it. They start something new, waking up early, changing their diet, going to the gym, and before it's even real, they broadcast it. They post it. They talk about it. They want applause before they've built consistency. And the praise feels good for a second, but it tricks the brain. The dopamine hits too early, and suddenly they feel like they've already accomplished something, even though they haven't followed through on anything yet. That's the trap. Talking creates the illusion of progress. Silence creates the environment for real change. Habits aren't about showing the world what you're doing. They're about changing who you are. And real change? That happens in the shadows. It happens when you do the work no one sees. When you get up and follow through, not because someone's watching, but because you said you would. Your habits don't need attention. They need repetition. They don't need validation. They need your discipline. And the less you talk about them, the more rooted they become. Because you're not performing. You're practicing. You're not impressing. You're improving. Stop needing to explain. Stop needing to share. Just do the work. You don't need to post that you're reading more. Just read. You don't need to explain your new schedule. Just live it. You don't need to tell anyone you're saving money or eating clean or working out. Just stick to it. In silence. Because every time you choose to stay quiet, you protect your energy. You give yourself space to grow without pressure. You stay connected to why you started, not who is watching. That's where strength builds, in the invisible moments. The hard mornings, the tired nights, the boring middle. People think discipline looks heroic, that it always feels like triumph. But most of the time, it feels like routine. It feels like getting out of bed when you'd rather not. It feels like eating right when no one would know if you didn't. It feels like choosing your long-term vision over your short-term mood, again and again and again. And in the beginning, your willpower is fragile. That's when it's most important to keep things to yourself. Because once you start talking too soon, you invite noise. You open the door to doubt, to distraction, to opinions that don't matter. And suddenly, you're not focused on the work anymore. You're focused on appearances. That's how habits die before they grow roots. But when you stay quiet, you stay free. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to meet anyone's expectations. You just keep moving, day after day, until your habit becomes your identity. Until it stops being something you do and starts becoming who you are. And that's the kind of change that no one can take from you. Build your discipline without putting it on display. Track your progress privately. Reflect on your mistakes quietly. Adjust your routine in peace. That's the path that lasts. That's the road less traveled, and it leads to real results. Will some people notice your absence? Maybe. Will they ask questions when you start changing? Probably. But you're not doing this for them. You're doing it for the person you're becoming. You're doing it to build a life that doesn't depend on applause to keep going. This is about self-respect. About keeping promises to yourself, even when no one claps, even when no one asks, even when no one sees. Because when you know you've been showing up in silence, when you know you've been doing the work regardless of the attention, that builds a kind of confidence that no compliment ever could. And that confidence becomes your foundation. Your day starts with structure. Your mind clears. Your energy rises. You don't waste time anymore. You don't need hype. You've built the system. You've paid your dues in the quiet. And now the system carries you forward. People will eventually notice something's different. But by then, you won't care about impressing them. You'll be too focused on your next move, too committed to your next level, because you're no longer addicted to being seen. You're addicted to becoming better. That kind of strength, unshaken, grounded, deliberate, that's rare, and it's built in silence. Stop telling people about your new routines. Stop trying to impress people with goals. Show them through transformation. Let your habits speak through your results. Let them wonder how you pulled it off. Let them guess what changed. And when they ask, You won't need to explain. Your life will already be the answer. This approach also protects your mental space. When you keep your goals private, you remove the pressure to perform perfectly. You give yourself permission to fail forward, to learn, to adjust without shame. You don't owe anyone a flawless path. You owe yourself growth. And real growth is messy, nonlinear, and deeply personal. Be the one who builds in silence, the one who doesn't need attention to stay committed, the one who doesn't just talk about discipline, they embody it. That's how strong people live. They don't announce, they align. They don't perform, they persevere, and they let time reveal what they've built. They don't announce, they align. They don't perform, they persevere, and they let time reveal what they've built. Chapter 5. Take action daily and say nothing about it. Take action daily and say nothing about it. That's the line. That's the difference. That's how you separate the ones who truly want change from the ones who just enjoy talking about it. Because the ones who are serious, they don't need to tell you. They just show up. Every day. Without noise, without praise, without permission. They don't wait for applause. They don't need to be seen. They don't ask for validation. They're not seeking attention. They're building something. Quietly, intentionally, patiently. Most people waste precious time trying to convince others they're doing something important. They craft posts, they give updates, they talk endlessly about plans and visions, but they don't execute, they don't grind, they don't follow through, at least not consistently enough for it to matter. And the ones who do, they don't have time to broadcast it. They're too busy doing the work. The truth is, silence is where strength grows. Quiet, consistent action is what builds the kind of momentum that can't be stopped. That's where transformation lives, not in the performance, but in the persistence. Every single day, life hands you a choice. Sit in comfort or step into growth. You don't need to announce your decision. You don't need to defend your discipline. You just need to take the step. Do the thing. Show up when you'd rather rest. Lean in when it would be easier to wait. Because real progress isn't dramatic, it's deliberate. It's not in the speeches, it's in the sweat. It's not in the proclamations, it's in the practice. The world doesn't need to hear your intentions. It needs to see your transformation. But even that isn't the point. You're not here to be noticed. You're here to become someone. Not someone loud, someone grounded, someone built on real work, not empty words. You don't need group chats. You don't need to post your routines. You don't need to explain to anyone why you're doing what you're doing. If it matters to you, that's enough. True accountability doesn't come from others watching you. It comes from you watching yourself, from the private conversation you have in the mirror each morning, from the silent decision to act, even when no one would know if you didn't. You want to grow? Then show up. Every day. Not once a week. Not when it feels good. Not when you're inspired. Every day. When you're tired, when you're distracted, when you don't feel like it. That's where the muscle is built. You want better health? Show up. You want sharper skills? Show up. You want to rebuild your life from the ground up? Then wake up and do the work. Don't speak it. Don't share it. Just live it. People confuse silence with weakness, but there's a kind of power in doing what needs to be done without anyone noticing. That's a rare kind of self-respect, knowing what you're doing, where you're going, and not needing anyone to understand it, not needing to prove it, not needing to explain. There's a quiet force inside you that gets stronger every time you act without needing acknowledgement. It becomes confidence, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that no one can shake. The kind that knows exactly what it's worth, because it's been earned, not handed over through likes or compliments. You don't need reminders. You don't need to be hyped up by another voice telling you you've got this. You've already made the decision. You've chosen discipline over drama. You've chosen purpose over praise. You're not performing, you're practicing. You're not reacting, you're building. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to justify your priorities to people who don't even manage their own. Your time is yours. Your focus is sacred. Your energy belongs to the life you're creating. And every time you act without making a big deal out of it, you add another brick to that life. One that's solid, one that doesn't crumble under pressure, one that doesn't need decoration to feel worthy. People think if nobody sees it, it doesn't count. But the truth is, the most powerful growth happens in private, in the dark, in the silence. when there's no clapping, no praise, no feedback. That's where your character is forged. That's where you become unshakable. Taking action daily doesn't mean forcing yourself through misery. It means committing. It means creating structure. And once that structure is built, it starts carrying you forward. You no longer rely on mood, you rely on momentum. Your habits become your foundation. Your daily efforts become your future. Every workout, every page read, every project finished, every early morning, every quiet decision, it all adds up. And one day you look in the mirror, and the person staring back at you isn't just different. They're stronger, clearer, confident without needing attention. Because you didn't wait for the world to change for you. You changed yourself from the inside out. Stay away from the noise, from the distraction of having to explain your every move, from the need to be seen doing something worthwhile. Let your outcomes speak. Let your work do the talking. Each day you rise, you have a choice. Go back to what's comfortable, or step again into the path you've chosen. And if you choose action, do it with purpose. Do it like it's sacred, and when it's done, move on to the next thing. Quietly, focused, present, no fanfare, no validation needed. The people who change their lives are rarely the loudest in the room. They don't need others to cheer them on. They need to believe in their decision and follow through. That's the only difference between dreams that fade and futures that unfold. Belief, followed by action, repeated, in silence. And when the hard days come, and they always do, don't complain. Don't broadcast the struggle. Adjust, learn, move, build, and trust that with every silent win, every unseen step forward, you're stacking a version of yourself that's built to last. This journey isn't about being seen doing the work. It's about doing the work and letting it change you. This journey isn't about being seen doing the work. It's about doing the work and letting it change you. Chapter 6. Improve yourself in silence and trust your pace. Improve yourself in silence and trust your pace. That's where real transformation begins. Not in the noise, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet, steady rhythm of daily effort, of showing up for yourself when no one's watching, of choosing to grow on your own terms, at your own speed. It's not about being faster than anyone else. It's not about chasing someone else's timeline. It's not about matching someone else's milestones. It's about honoring your journey, moving with intention, and deciding, deep down, that you're worth more than staying the same. Not because someone told you to change, not because you want to be seen changing, but because you know that where you are right now is not the limit of who you can become. The world moves fast. You scroll and see everyone's highlight reels, people showing progress, showcasing routines, flashing results. And if you're not careful, you start feeling behind. You start feeling like you're late, like you're failing. But behind what? Who set the standard? Who told you there was a race? The truth is, there is no universal clock. Nobody's path looks the same. Nobody's growth is identical. And the only timeline that matters, the only one, is yours. But you don't learn that until you step away from the noise, until you disconnect from the pressure to perform, until you realize that you don't need anyone else to believe in your journey. You just need to believe in it yourself. When you choose to grow quietly, you give your process the space it needs to breathe. You create a kind of protected ground where your roots can go deep, unseen, undisturbed, and unshaken by the opinions of others. Silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the space where real strength builds. It's the quiet where you make mistakes without shame, where you adjust without explaining, where you take your time to get it right without worrying how it looks from the outside. Growth isn't pretty. It's not always inspiring. Some days you'll feel confident and strong. Other days you'll feel lost, tired, and unsure. But all of it matters. All of it counts. And when you stop performing and start participating fully in that process, something changes inside you. You begin to build strength that doesn't depend on feedback, a kind of self-respect that doesn't need outside permission. You learn to move not for applause, but for progress. Improving in silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to focus, enough to protect your progress from unnecessary pressure, enough to build something real. Real change takes time. Real change is slow, messy, repetitive, and sometimes invisible, but it adds up in your focus, in your discipline, in your identity. You stop chasing quick fixes. You stop measuring your progress against someone else's highlight reel. You stop sprinting and start walking. Because you finally understand, peace doesn't come from speed. It comes from presence. There is no reward for burning out fast, but there is freedom in staying grounded. There is power in being patient. There is growth in moving forward without fear of falling behind. Trust your pace. Respect it. Not every season will feel the same. Some chapters will stretch you. Some will break you open. Others will feel still, but all of them serve a purpose if you stay with them long enough. Don't beat yourself up for not being further along. You're not late. You're just building something that lasts, and lasting things take time. Every small action matters. Every new habit you repeat, every quiet win, every time you stay committed without anyone noticing, that is what creates real change. Not dramatic declarations, not quick results, not perfect streaks, just small, consistent efforts stacked over time. People fall apart not because they're weak, but because they force change too fast. They chase fast results. They want the glow up in a week. But what's built fast often crumbles just as fast. So take your time. Build slow if that's what it takes. What matters isn't how fast you go, it's that you don't stop going. What matters is that you keep showing up, even when it's quiet, even when it's hard, even when it feels like nothing's changing, because something is changing. Every time you show up instead of sitting it out, you become stronger. Every time you choose effort over comfort, something shifts. Every time you trust your rhythm instead of chasing someone else's, it counts. Improving in silence gives you control. You're not working to be seen. You're not waiting for motivation. You're not relying on someone else's praise to keep going. You're building from within. And that kind of growth, that kind of identity, it sticks. There will be days when it all feels slow, days when you question whether it's working, days when you feel like nothing's changing. But that's where you grow most, not when everything feels great, but when you continue anyway. The discipline to stay consistent, even when no one sees, is the foundation of every lasting transformation. You don't owe the world updates. You don't need to post about your progress. Just keep going. Quietly, steadily. The people who are meant to notice will, but by then, you won't need their approval. You'll have already earned something better. Self-respect. That's what silent effort gives you. It gives you the kind of pride that no compliment can match. The kind of confidence that doesn't need to be announced. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you've done the work when it was hardest to do. If you're waiting for the perfect time, this is it. The perfect time isn't later, it's now. Start where you are. Move at your own speed. Do it not for attention, but for truth. Do it not for praise, but for peace. You'll know you're growing when the right choice becomes automatic, when you no longer need to hype yourself up, when the discipline becomes your baseline. That kind of transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens quietly, over time, through repetition. And if you fall off, get up, quietly. No need to reset the world. No need to explain. Just return to your rhythm. Return to your pace. Because there is something powerful, unshakable about a person who doesn't need to be seen to stay consistent, who doesn't need attention to stay committed, who can show up through doubt, boredom, and hard days and keep moving forward anyway. That's not weakness, that's resilience, that's leadership, and that's how lives are changed. So choose patience, choose privacy, choose persistence, keep improving, and trust that every step, no matter how small or quiet, is taking you somewhere real. Not fast, not loud, but real. Chapter 7. Stay focused on your path and ignore opinions. Stay focused on your path and ignore opinions. That one choice will protect your peace, sharpen your clarity, and pull you further than most people ever get. Because here's the truth. You cannot walk forward while constantly turning your head. You cannot build a meaningful life while listening to every voice that passes by. And voices? They're everywhere. The world is full of noise. Everyone has something to say. Someone will question you. Someone will doubt you. Someone will misunderstand your motives. Someone will project their fears onto your progress. And if you're not grounded, if you're not solid in your vision, you'll get pulled off track. But that's not your job. It's not your job to convince people. It's not your mission to explain your life to those who were never meant to understand it. Your job is to stay locked in on your mission, on your values, on your next step. That's where the peace is. That's where the strength builds. Because the moment you decide to take your life seriously, you'll feel resistance. And it won't just come from inside you, it'll come from people around you. Friends who liked you better when you were less disciplined. Family members who project their fears onto your ambition. Strangers who don't understand your boundaries. Some will joke about your discipline. Some will question your priorities. Some will give you advice rooted in their own insecurity, not your potential. And if you're not careful, you'll start reshaping your pace to match their comfort. You'll slow down. You'll second guess. You'll crave reassurance. And with it, you lose momentum. You start shrinking your effort to make others feel less challenged. You start compromising. You start bending when you were built to rise. But hear this, you don't need to be understood by everyone. You just need to be understood by yourself. You need to know why you wake up early, why you train, why you say no to certain habits, why you move differently. That kind of internal clarity will protect you from a world full of projections and pressure. It will become your anchor when everything around you tries to pull you off course. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. You don't have to dilute your standards so people don't feel uncomfortable. You're not required to shrink so others feel tall. If they're not living your life, their opinions should never dictate your direction. Staying focused is about more than attention. It's about protection. Protection of your energy, your vision, your time, your sanity. Because every time you pause your progress to defend your choices, you're wasting energy that could have gone into building something meaningful. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them gossip and assume. That's not your business. Your business is forward. Your business is becoming. You weren't born to please everyone. You weren't built to meet someone else's standard. You were designed for your own path, and your job is to walk it, not explain it. If your intentions are true and your goals are aligned, then put your head down and work. Craft your routine. Sharpen your discipline. Make your moves in silence. Keep evolving. You don't need the world's permission to grow. You need your own permission to ignore the noise. Because opinions don't put in the reps. Opinions don't wake up at dawn. Opinions don't feel the resistance, push through the fear, or hold the line when it gets hard. You do. So why give their words more weight than your own work? Why hand your power to people who aren't doing anything with theirs? Not everyone will like how you move. Not everyone will support your boundaries. Some will try to pull you back to the version of yourself they were more comfortable with, the version who said yes to everything, who played it safe, who fit in. But you're not here to fit in. You're here to grow. And growth requires friction. It requires change. It requires the kind of courage that doesn't wait for approval. Rising often means walking alone, standing tall in the face of doubt, holding the line when others flinch, trusting the vision only you can see. And that's okay, because the version of you you're becoming, they'll thank you. They'll thank you for staying focused, for protecting your energy, for doing the work without the need for applause. The world doesn't reward explanations, it rewards outcomes. So let your focus be louder than your words. Let your routine be your resume. Let your habits be your highlight reel. And as you grow, you'll find the voices that once felt loud start to fade. The critics get quieter when your results begin to speak. The opinions that once weighed you down lose their gravity when you're standing in the truth of who you've become. Because most opinions, they're just reflections. Mirrors of someone else's fear, someone else's doubt, someone else's failure to follow through. When you move with conviction, it disrupts people who never dared to start. It challenges their comfort. So they criticize, but their opinion isn't a reflection of your potential. It's a mirror of their own limitations. So don't internalize what isn't yours. You weren't put here to blend in. You weren't meant to live on repeat. You were meant to rise on your own terms. And the more you commit to your own lane, the more the pieces begin to align. Your focus sharpens, your energy returns, your progress compounds. But that kind of clarity only comes when you stop entertaining distraction. When you stop handing your time to people who haven't earned it. When you stop arguing for your greatness and just start living it. Focus is a decision. It's the choice you make every single day. Where you put your eyes, where you place your energy, what you say yes to, and what you walk away from. If you keep choosing distractions, you'll stay stuck. But if you choose discipline, if you choose your vision over validation, you'll break through everything that once held you back. So tune out the opinions, turn down the noise, decline the debate, and let your actions speak. Let your results be the response. You're not here to be liked. You're here to become. And becoming takes focus. Quiet, steady, relentless focus. Do it not for their approval. Do it because you finally believe you deserve to live the life you were meant to build. Chapter 8. Handle your struggles alone and grow from them. Handle your struggles alone and grow from them. Not because you want to prove something, not because you're trying to be a hero, and not because you have to go through life without support, but because there's something unshakable, something sacred about learning how to face your darkest moments without needing someone else to carry the weight for you. This isn't about isolation. It's about inner elevation. Growth begins the moment you stop running from your pain and start learning to walk through it. No shortcuts, no bypasses, no detours. The lessons that matter most in life, they don't come in comfortable classrooms or from secondhand stories. They come from surviving what should have broken you and deciding not to let it. When you're in pain, your instinct is to reach out, to blame the world, to look outward for rescue, to hope someone notices you're not okay and rushes in to save you. And sometimes support matters. Sometimes a hand can help. But real strength is born when you stop waiting for that help and begin helping yourself. Because nobody, no matter how close, can truly feel what you feel. No one carries your exact burdens. No one fights the storm inside your mind but you. And the more you rely on others to carry your emotional weight, the less prepared you'll be when life demands your resilience. The truth is, the moments that change you aren't the ones where you're surrounded by encouragement. They're the moments where you feel like breaking, but you don't. The moments you want to quit, but take one more step. The moments when it feels like no one understands, and you keep going anyway. That's where character is formed. That's where transformation begins. You stop pretending. You stop reaching for distractions. You stop numbing your pain, and you begin facing it. With honesty, with courage, with stillness. Not because it feels good, but because you know it's necessary. Some seasons in life demand silence. They ask you to sit with your struggle, to listen to what your discomfort is trying to tell you. Not every wound needs an audience. Not every breakdown needs to be explained. Sometimes growth asks you to feel the full weight of your experience so that you can build something stronger in its place. You don't become powerful by avoiding the storm. You become powerful by walking into it and refusing to be swept away. When you depend too much on someone else to fix what's broken in you, you delay your own development. You rob yourself of the strength that only comes through personal struggle. You're not always going to have someone to lean on, and that's okay. Because what you'll always have is your own decision, your ability to choose your response. That's where the power is. That's where the rebuilding starts. Saying, this is hard, but I'm not going to let it stop me. That sentence, that mindset, it's everything. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They numb it with distraction, they silence it with noise, they escape it with convenience. But if you want to grow, you have to do something most won't. Sit with it. Feel it. Let it sharpen your awareness. Let it strip away your bad habits, your weak thoughts, your emotional excuses. Struggles expose everything you've been avoiding. They force you to meet your unfiltered self. They introduce you to who you are without the coping mechanisms, without the masks. And that's exactly who you need to meet. Facing your struggle alone doesn't mean you suffer in silence. It means you choose self-respect over self-pity. It means you use your pain, not as a reason to shut down, but as a reason to rise. You stop waiting for someone to come and save you, and you become the kind of person who can rescue yourself. That shift, that's where your next level begins. Because when you stop looking for someone to blame and start focusing on what you can control, your actions, your habits, your attitude, you take your power back. You start developing the kind of mental discipline that no motivational quote can give you. You start protecting your peace. You start rebuilding your mind. The outside world might be chaotic, but your internal world becomes calm, focused, determined. You learn to speak to yourself differently. You become your own coach. You cheer yourself on when nobody's around. You stop waiting for a check-in, and you check in with yourself. That's real independence. That's real growth. It's rare. Because most people don't want to do the work that doesn't get recognized. But those who do, they move through life with a different presence. A quiet, grounded strength that doesn't need to be broadcasted. When everything around you is falling apart, you'll feel the pull to give up. You'll want the easy exit. But that's when you ask, what would the stronger version of me do right now? What would my future self thank me for? Then do that. Even if it's uncomfortable. Even if you're scared. Even if you're tired. Because that's the work that matters. That's what separates people who evolve from people who stay stuck. Nobody grows when everything's perfect. We grow in the dark. We grow when we're afraid, when we're unsure, when we feel like we have no map, but we keep going anyway. You grow when you stop pointing fingers and start taking full ownership of your thoughts, your choices, your discipline. That's the battle, and you have to fight it from the inside out. You don't need to post about your pain. You don't need to prove your toughness. You just need to show up, quietly, relentlessly. Let the hard days refine you. Let the setbacks redirect you. Let the struggle become your strength, because it will. And when you come out on the other side, not louder, but stronger, you'll realize you never needed validation. You just needed belief. In yourself, in your capacity to overcome. In your ability to stand when everything told you to sit down. You'll remember the nights you cried, but still got up the next morning. The days you were tempted to quit, but took one more step. The pressure that tried to break you, but ended up building you. Life won't get easier, but you'll become harder to break. Stronger, wiser, sharper, ready. Because once you know you can survive the storm without applause, without backup, nothing can stop you. You built yourself from the inside. And that kind of growth, it can't be bought, it can't be borrowed. It has to be earned, in silence, for the version of you who's waiting on the other side of the pain. Stronger, sharper, unshakable. Chapter 9. Let your results show what you've been doing. There's a moment, somewhere in the middle of fatigue and quiet discipline, when you realize you don't need to talk about your goals anymore. You don't need to update anyone on your progress. You don't need to explain your routines, your priorities, or your silence. Because deep down, you understand that the path you're walking, though invisible to others, is leading you exactly where you need to go. And when you arrive, you won't have to say a word. Your results will speak so clearly, so loudly, that they'll echo in places your voice never could. That realization doesn't happen on day one. It doesn't come with inspiration or momentum or praise. It happens on the 10th day of doing the same quiet thing no one's watching. It happens when you're tired of starting over, tired of looking for validation, and finally ready to build something that doesn't need to be shared. Something that doesn't need an audience, because it's not about the audience anymore. It's about the outcome. Let your results speak for you. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because there comes a time when your work becomes too sacred to be diluted by constant explanation. Your mission becomes too real to be posted. Your effort becomes too valuable to be wasted on seeking approval from people who don't walk your path, carry your weight, or understand your why. In the beginning, you may have felt the urge to announce every change, to tell people what you're about to do, to gain support before you've even taken a step. That's human. We all crave encouragement. We all want to feel seen, to feel like our decisions are understood. But eventually, you realize that speaking too soon about your plans steals some of the fire from the act itself. It puts energy into perception instead of into performance. And if you're not careful, you can get stuck there, addicted to the image of discipline without ever developing the muscle it takes to keep going in silence. You don't need to tell people you're focused. You need to be focused. You don't need to explain that you're building something. You just need to build it. You don't need to justify your decisions, your schedule, your isolation. You simply need to continue doing the work. Even when it's boring, even when no one's watching, even when the silence feels heavy. Because the people who build things that last are rarely the ones who talk about it every day. They're the ones who disappear into the craft, the ones who learn to enjoy the process more than the praise. The ones who understand that the work itself is the reward, Because what it creates isn't just success, it's identity. It's who you become when you keep showing up without applause. Over time, you start to feel it. You begin to notice changes, not just in what you're accomplishing, but in how you carry yourself. You walk a little taller. You move more deliberately. You speak less, but say more. Because every repetition, every early morning, every late night that no one saw has built something in you that no one can take away. And it shows. People will ask what changed. They'll wonder how you did it. They'll try to trace the shift. But you'll know. You'll know it wasn't a sudden leap. It was 1,000 quiet steps. It was the hours you spent when motivation was gone and no one was cheering you on. It was the sacrifice that didn't get shared. It was the discipline you built when no one else was around to hold you accountable but you. There's a deep peace that comes when you no longer need to perform, when your only audience is the future version of you looking back with pride. When you realize that validation isn't what makes progress feel good, progress itself is. Quiet, honest, private progress. The kind that rewires your mindset and rebuilds your self-respect. And no, it's not glamorous. Real transformation never is. It's early mornings when your body aches. It's skipped events and missed invitations. It's being misunderstood. It's the loneliness that comes with doing things differently. But it's also strength. The kind that doesn't need a stage. The kind that shows up in how you respond under pressure. In how you carry yourself in a room full of people who used to doubt you. The results don't lie. And they don't need help. They're undeniable when they arrive. When your consistency begins to bear fruit, it's not something you'll have to advertise. People will see it in your energy. They'll see it in how you speak, how you move, how you think. They'll see it in the calm that only comes from knowing you did the work when no one asked you to. That kind of confidence doesn't require noise, it requires history. And you'll have it. That's why the quiet seasons are so important. That's why silence is not the absence of action. It's the proving ground for it. The time when character is forged. The time when you stop waiting for permission and start living with purpose. Because anyone can look motivated for a week. Anyone can post their goals. Anyone can speak about what they plan to do. But few can keep showing up long enough, consistently enough, to make those goals reality. Few can stay locked in when the world's distracted. Few can keep a promise to themselves when no one's keeping track. And that's what makes the difference. You don't need to argue for your discipline. You don't need to beg to be seen. You just need to trust the process. Trust your pace and trust that what you're building in silence is going to speak volumes in time. Your growth won't always be visible, especially in the beginning. The scale might not change. The bank account might look the same. The outside world might assume nothing's happening. But inside, everything is. Your mindset is sharpening. Your boundaries are strengthening. Your vision is clarifying. Your identity is being rebuilt. And when the breakthrough comes, because it won't be a surprise to you. It will be the next step in a long line of steps that you took without needing to be noticed. So keep showing up. Keep your head down. Keep your circle small. Keep your mission big. Let the critics talk. Let the doubters wonder. Let the world watch from the sidelines, because the life you're building isn't for show. It's not for likes. It's not for status. It's for freedom, for peace, for the kind of power that can't be taken from you because no one gave it to you. You earned it. And when it's finally time to look up, when you lift your head and glance back at how far you've come, you'll be stunned. Not because it happened fast, but because it happened quietly. It happened when you stopped needing to talk about it and started living it. So let your results do the talking. Let them walk into rooms before you do. Let them carry your story when words would only soften the truth. Because when you've done the work, when you've carried the weight, when you've built it from scratch in silence, there's nothing left to explain. There's only the power of presence and the strength of someone who no longer needs to prove anything because their life already has. Chapter 10. Win big without announcing a single move. Winning doesn't require a crowd, and real success never begs for attention. The higher you climb in life, the more you begin to understand that the most impactful moves are made far away from the spotlight, in rooms no one ever enters, during hours no one ever counts. It's not a trick. It's not a strategy. It's a way of moving through the world with intention, maturity, and unshakable focus. Every time you choose silence over performance and substance over style, you take one step closer to becoming the kind of person whose life speaks louder than their words ever could. This is the path of those who win big, not by proclaiming their every intention, but by staying low, staying focused, and letting the outcome speak volumes when the time is right. People who understand the weight of purpose don't waste time explaining their journey. They've stopped trying to earn permission to chase their calling. They've outgrown the need for public applause and have replaced it with a private pact to keep going, regardless of who's watching. And when others are rushing to make noise about their goals, these individuals are already halfway through achieving theirs in silence. Nothing you build with intention requires validation. The strength of your mission lies in how deeply you believe in it, not in how loudly you can talk about it. Too many people confuse starting with succeeding. They announce a goal, receive some encouragement, and mistake that attention for progress. But progress never arrives through applause. It comes through repetition, discipline, and grit. The kind of grit that doesn't post selfies. The kind of repetition that doesn't need anyone else to know. The moment you speak of a goal, your mind tricks itself into believing something has already been accomplished. That illusion is dangerous because it satisfies your emotional hunger before you've earned the physical reward. Winners understand this trap. They stay quiet, not because they lack ambition, but because their ambition is sacred and they refuse to spend it on spectators. Working in silence doesn't mean hiding. It means protecting your vision. It means keeping your momentum out of reach from doubters, critics, or distractions. When no one knows what's coming, no one can interfere. No one can inject their fears into your mission. No one can sabotage what they cannot see. Every ounce of energy that might have gone into maintaining appearances now goes fully into execution. That's what separates talkers from finishers. The winners aren't interested in being known for planning. They're interested in being remembered for delivering. Not one big moment, not one viral success, but consistent, undeniable results born of consistency and resilience. True focus creates a kind of quiet that most people will never understand. While the world is busy curating perception, you are crafting legacy. Not for praise, not for pride, but because your purpose demands it. Some days, the work will feel invisible. The results won't come fast. The world won't notice. You'll question whether the silence is worth it. But that's when the shift happens. When you keep going anyway, when you find clarity not from external feedback, but from internal alignment. That's where power lives. That's where winners are born. Private work delivers public results. And when they arrive, you won't need to explain the struggle, the sacrifice, or the long nights. You won't feel the urge to list what you gave up, what it cost, or what you endured to get here. You'll simply live in the proof. The shift will be seen. The strength will be felt. The respect will follow, not because you asked for it, but because you earned it without saying a word. People who win quietly learn to handle success with a kind of grace that cannot be faked. They don't feel the need to weaponize their progress. They don't walk around with a checklist of people to prove wrong. The ego that once needed revenge no longer has room to breathe in the presence of real confidence. Because when you know what you've built, when you know what it cost, you don't need to flex. You just keep building. There's power in walking past the crowd without ever raising your voice. In knowing that the freedom, the confidence, and the stability you now hold were forged in silence, in the dark, and in the absence of external recognition. You don't need the world to know. The world will feel it when it arrives. Keeping your success private also protects your future. It allows your next move to remain unchallenged. No one can shoot arrows at a target they can't see. By keeping things to yourself, you're not being secretive. You're being strategic. You're giving your ideas space to breathe, to take shape without being suffocated by opinions or projections. As your habits solidify and your identity shifts, something even more powerful happens. You become your own source of accountability. You don't rely on outside pressure to stay on track. You don't require a cheering section to keep showing up. Your reason becomes internal, personal, untouchable. You're no longer seeking external reward. You're chasing a standard, a future, a version of yourself you've decided is worth everything. Movement becomes deliberate. Purpose becomes personal. Growth becomes automatic. You're no longer performing. You're transforming. Not everyone will understand this version of you. Some people will drift. Some will wonder why you're no longer available, no longer explaining yourself, no longer present in the same conversations. Let them wonder. You're not being rude. You're being responsible. Responsible for your time. Responsible for your future. Responsible for guarding the life you're building from anyone who doesn't have the vision to see it. When you stop needing to be seen, you free yourself from one of the heaviest chains, the burden of performing for people who don't care enough to walk the road with you. The truth is, most people just want to be entertained. But you're not here to put on a show. You're here to rise. By the time your results arrive, by the time the change becomes obvious, it will seem sudden to those who weren't paying attention. But you'll know better. You'll know every step, every sacrifice. Every early morning, every late night, every moment when quitting whispered to you and you whispered back, "Not today." This is what it means to win without announcing a single move. The process has been unfolding. The shift has already taken root. The change is not coming, it has arrived, and it doesn't need permission to exist. Let others talk. Let them chase attention. Let them argue, prove, and pretend. You stay disciplined, stay focused, stay dangerous. Because your silence is not weakness. It is strength under control. It is fire without smoke. It is power without noise. Let them think it happened overnight. Let them try to explain your success with luck or timing. Smile. You'll know the truth. You didn't get here by chance. You didn't stumble into greatness. You didn't win by accident. You earned it. In the quiet, in the dark, in the places nobody was watching. You built it. With broken pieces, with unglamorous choices, with moments of doubt and unmatched determination. You protected it. With silence, you refined it with pain. You live it now with peace. You've reached the end of this journey, but the real work begins now. If you've made it through all 10 chapters, you already know. This book wasn't just written to motivate you. It was written to challenge you to make a shift. Not by talking louder, but by building stronger. Not by posting your plans, but by honoring your process. From this moment forward, let your silence become your power. Let your discipline replace the applause you once thought you needed. Let your results, not your voice, tell the story of who you are becoming. Thank you for listening. This has been brought to you by Book Sound's Better You, a place where growth is real, honest, and built from the inside out. Now go live this, not just once, not just today, but daily, quietly, powerfully, without needing to say a single word.